What's up guys, Neocon here. Today I'd like to share with you my guide for Yin. Yin is an ADC released this week who functions like a hybrid between a melee and a ranged carry. However, don't be mistaken, she is 100% a late game carry and should be treated as one. She is best suited for playing in the dual lane given her weak early game, but many players, including myself, have found success in the off lane. Her ability to clear waves rivals that of Countess towards the mid and late game and provides great defense for towers and lane pressure. Yin rewards players who understand enemy matchups and have quick reactions to reflect projectiles. So let's talk briefly about the build. Yin should be built 100% like a late game carry. Focus on cards that increase damage, attack speed, and crit chance. You have the option to go with the power, attack speed, and penetration route, but given the current state of the game, crit is an indispensable stat for melting late game targets. Your early game should consist of a low cost power card and a low cost attack speed card. I personally use a ward, a Madstone gem, and a flashfire piston, but for newer players, wind carvers and whirling wands will work the same. Next I start building the crit items and what I like to consider the core build. I grab a micro nuke with 2 wounds and a lesser wound, followed up with a Blade of Agora with 3 minor strikes. The next card I grab is another micro nuke with a strike and 2 wounds. I then sell my Madstone gem and grab a final micro nuke with a major wound and 2 major strikes. Next I sell my wards to grab a Brando the Fire Eater with a major wound, a greater drain, and a wound. Finally, I finish my build by selling my early game Flashfire and replacing it with a Whirling Wand upgraded with 2 major kinetics and a strike. This is just the build I'm using for now, but you're free to do what works for you. I highly recommend having some flex cards like Hunter's Guile and a Blink Shot depending on the matchup. These are cards I've been trying to work into other decks and are great tools for survivability. After all, a dead ADC can't do damage. So Yin is an ADC that specializes in clearing waves and sticking to enemy targets. You want to position yourself properly to be in range for your basic attacks and reflect enemy projectiles that try to harass you. Her basic attack is pretty strong with a 55 base attack, a 92% scaling with power, and a 1.6 increase per level. The first ability you must level on Yin is Windburn. This ability turns her mid-range basic attack into a ranged basic attack. Windburn has an incredibly low mana cost, a 6-second duration with an 8-second cooldown at max level, and cleaves through all enemies in the line of sight for full damage. This is her bread and butter and should be maxed as soon as possible. Leveling this ability only decreases the cooldown, but this is an ability you want up as much as possible. The next ability I like to level is her Lash Kick. Yin uses her whip to tether onto allies, minions, or enemies, and pulls herself in their direction. Lash Kick is on a 10-second cooldown and has a 50% scaling with power. The range on this ability is rather short since it only goes her melee range, but once you are tethered, you can chase the target down no matter how far they go. Try using this ability on targets you know are about to use escaping abilities such as Gideon's Teleport and Grux's Dash. Keep in mind that this ability has a secondary input being which direction she will travel after she's pulled herself towards her target. This direction will be the direction in which you are holding. Essentially, if you want to follow your target, hold forward, if you want to bounce back, hold back, and so on. The third ability I level is Backlash. This ability reflects enemy projectiles back towards them. Leveling this ability will reduce its cooldown from 16 seconds to 4 seconds at max level, making it very powerful for countering ADC basic attacks, Howitzer missiles, Rampage rocks, Decker stuns, and so on. Backlash allows her to fight enemy ranged carries very efficiently as she can reflect basic attacks for free. Backlash is a powerful ability, but will require some practice and matchup experience to use properly. Her final ability is Quelling Gale. Yin creates a small AoE field that traps enemy projectiles, displaces enemy heroes, and slows enemy heroes that step inside. At level 1 it has a 350 movement slow with a 450 movement slow at max level. To put that in perspective, Gideon's slow at max level has a 300 movement speed decrease. At max level, Yin's ult has a 40-second cooldown. Leveling this ability increases the slow potency as well as shorten the cooldown, but that is all that it will do for you, therefore I level it last. Projectiles halted by this ability can be reflected back to the target using Backlash, however Quelling Gale stays where you activated it. So if you want to reflect projectiles you've stopped, you'll have to stay inside the circle. This ability is also useful as an escape from enemy melee fighters that are chasing you, as the slow is potent enough to give you the distance you need to escape. As Yin, you'll spend most of your time farming a lane until you can effectively do damage. First and foremost, get used to her basic attacks. She doesn't have the leniency that melee basic attacks have. It has a narrow hitbox similar to ranged carries. Be conscious of Yin's range at all time. Her basic attack range will go in and out during fights. Don't force yourself to be in melee range at all time. She is an ADC. Use her Windburn and use it effectively. Windburn has an amazing cleave. Try to position yourself so that you can hit multiple targets at once. When combined with Lifesteal, Windburn can regenerate ridiculous amounts of health if you attack minion waves. You might also consider building a small amount of Lifesteal for the early game farm. Use Lash Kick earlier rather than later to stick to targets that don't have an escape. The distance is rather short, and if you're new to the hero, you'll easily get out of range. Learn enemy escape animations and learn to predict their escape habits. This will increase the usefulness of this ability. Enemies like Grux, Gideon, and Sevarog are rather telegraphed in their escapes and can be reacted to. Backlash will also require some practice and timing. Learn to react to projectiles such as Rampage Rock, Decker's Stun, and Howitzer's missiles, as it can make or break a fight. When trapped in Decker's shield, try to use Lash Kick against a target outside of the shield to leap out. Don't hesitate to use your ultimate to slow down an enemy fighter that is targeting you. It has a short cooldown and will save your life. If there's a Sparrow on the enemy team, a good time to use your ult is when Sparrow uses hers. This will completely shut down Sparrow, halt all her projectiles, and you can reflect them back towards her. You have the advantage over all other ranged ADCs, so don't be afraid of them since you can reflect a shot every 4 seconds. That's damage that you didn't have to take and damage that they received. If you're in a really tight situation with nothing to Lash Kick to for an escape, try bouncing off of the enemy targeting you and go in a random direction they won't expect. Half of the time this will work to create some distance, but it shouldn't be used as a go to escape. Lastly, Yin is very effective at taking out raptors given the cleave on her basic attacks. Secure raptors with your team whenever possible. Hopefully this has been useful information. Yin is a fun and refreshing addition to Paragon and gives some variety to the usual gunner bowman carries seen in other MOBAs. The first few games will be very rough as you have to get used to her playstyle, basic attack range, and abilities, but once you've adjusted to her, she will reward you with entertaining gameplay and a dominant late game presence. That being said guys, I've been New Account. Thank you so much for watching. I've been working really hard to improve the quality of my videos, so feedback in the comment section is really appreciated. As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and share with your friends since it will help my channel grow. Subscribe to the channel for more gaming content, and I will see you next time.